half of the screen is our header. Here we'll see our bill of material number, the name, the site it's associated to, effectivity dates, and a from quantity. The from quantity is important because it allows us to create quantity-dependent bills of material. In other words, we can have a bill of material for making one item and a completely different one with different component usage if we make 100, and different costing. The bottom half of the screen is the lines on this bill, or the components. Looking at this first component, 1005, we'll see it's a configured item, so it has the dimensions of configuration, size, and color, the warehouse that we normally source it from, the quantity used. If we look at the General tab, it's important to point out the line types. 4 line types in a bill of material: item, fandom, production, and vendor. This dictates how this particular line is managed. Now we'll look at our Setup tab, and we see we have multiple options for consumption calculation. Dropping down on the formula, there's many different ways we can consume this particular component. Let's look at the where used for this component to see if it's being used in any other finished goods. We can see that in fact it is. It's also important to note in the bill of material, we can use our document handling to attach CAD drawings. Now let's go back to our item master and look at the route we have for this particular item. Similar to the bill, we have a route that's been defined in our header, and at the bottom of the screen shows us all of our operations. In this case, we only have one operation assigned to this particular route. We can define our work center, our runtime, and process quantity. And from a setup standpoint, once again, we have consumption calculations available to us. Price button, we can see there's multiple versions of this particular standard cost, one for 2008 and one for 2009. We can see the site that's been assigned, the price unit. Let's click our complete button and get a complete overall picture of all the costs as it explodes through the BOM and matches up to the route. Here we see the item in the work center, the different operations and level, the cost group that's been assigned, and consumption. Let's also look at the costing sheet tab. Here we can see our costs broken down by the multiple overheads that we might have assigned. So in conclusion, we can have multiple versions of costing, each with different activation dates assigned to different quantities, can be costed by dimension. We can track variable and fixed cost, and we can drill into these all from our item detail. It's also interesting to point out that we can let the system calculate the price based on a cost plus percentage model that we define by item. In addition to auto calculation of our price, Dynamics AX 2009 can also auto calculate ABC classification. ABC classification can automatically be generated for you by Dynamics AX 2009. Here you'll see you can set up the from and to dates, the different percentages for your A, B, and C classes, as well as the ABC model on which you'd like to calculate. Depending on the model, you can then select your item groups. The system will automatically populate your item master with the appropriate A, B, or C. Once the item master is populated, you'll then use your inventory counting journal in order to calculate which items need to be counted and to record those countings. This counting journal has multiple choices for selecting the items. We'll see here, if we go to create, we can create the inventory journal based on any item on hand. We can base it on filtering across our items using user-defined selection criteria, or we could base it on the expired batches. Once we create our journal, we'll simply go back in, indicate the counted quantity. The system will calculate the difference between on-hand and counted and create general ledger transactions, posting those variances. Additionally, let's look at the item replenishment models between warehouses and sites. AX 2009 handles this with an item coverage group. Let's query our item. Let's look at the QMC bracket, and if we go to our setup item coverage, for this item we can determine by site and warehouse our min and max coverages, as well as assign a coverage group. Items may be assigned to these coverage groups, and the rules for item replenishment may be set up by coverage group or by item. Master scheduling uses these coverage groups to calculate the item requirements. Coverage settings can be by group or by item. AX 2009 also provides a wizard. This wizard will walk you through all the requirements for setting up your item coverage groups. By clicking on the General tab, we'll see the detail behind how we replenish Site 2 Warehouse 22. It's replenished from the main warehouse 34 by a planned order of transfer. We can also indicate min and maxes, fulfill minimums, which allows us to better plan when we can have this particular item fulfilled. We can also determine lead times, whether it be a purchased item, a production item, or a transfer. Now, transfer orders can be created two different ways. Automatically from planning, as we see in this case, Site 2 and Warehouse 22 will be automatically fulfilled by a transfer order whenever there's demand for this item, or we can manually create a transfer order. This is our main transfer order screen. The top portion of the screen, you'll see all the transfer orders we have in our company. Going across the top, we have some general information about each transfer order, such as the number, the date it was created. Here we see our shipment date, mode of delivery, receipt dates, and we can establish our from and to warehouses. Now, looking at the details below, the detail for each line. In this case, we're transferring item 9,000 from Warehouse 11 to Warehouse 21. We can see some general information about our particular line number, transfer order information, shipment and receipt date. Do we allow over and under delivery? Our ship now quantities, our receive now quantities. This particular transfer order has already been received. We see that in our transfer status. We can simply create a new transfer order. We indicate the warehouse we're transferring from, the warehouse to, our item number, any item dimension information that we need to indicate, and our transfer quantity. The shipment date has been populated for us based on lead times, as well as the receipt date. The transfer order can be processed two ways. Using the warehouse management, we can process it through our pick release process, as well as our item arrival journals. If we're not using the warehouse management module, we can simply indicate the transfer by indicating our ship now quantity and shipping that transfer order. Once the transfer order's been shipped, now we'll see our transfer status is shipped. Looking at our inventory transactions, we can see this particular transfer order went from Warehouse 11 to Warehouse 21 via our transit warehouse 19. And finally, looking at this received transfer order, we can inquire on the transfer order history. We can easily see the transfer number, the voucher, the date it was posted, the type. Dynamics AX 2009 has some important warehouse management features, such as item registration with two-step picking, consolidated picking across multiple order types, quarantine management, and transport between warehouses. Also, pallets and layers as well as RFID are supported. Let's take a moment and look at the arrival overview. This gives us a picture of what items we're expecting to receive into the warehouse, part of our two-step receiving process. So here we configure the system to show us everything we expect to receive today. We can set up a custom inquiry, all the return orders we expect to receive, purchase orders, as well as options used. Let's look at the return orders we expect to receive. So these are sales orders, all of them with an RMA number. We can receive all of these by selecting for arrival, or only select certain ones we wish to receive. It's also important to note on the Setup tab, here we can restrict these to certain sites, warehouse, or locations. We can also create our own and save them. Additionally, we can restrict the transaction types that we expect to receive. So in conclusion, the arrival overview gives the warehouse manager control over the transaction he expects to receive, giving him the ability to properly staff the resources in his warehouse. Now let's wrap up by looking at our consolidated picking process. By determining which sales orders we wish to release for pick and pack, we can choose these by order line, type or status, ship date, dimensions of the item or the warehouse. And we'll see all the sales orders that are available to be picked and packed. It's also important to notice that we can see what the quantity available to pick is and whether we wish to activate those now. Scrolling over, the system will show us if all the orders can be delivered, if a production order exists, so if we have incoming, and the delivery percent possible. So by using AX 2009, you can have control over the warehouse at a detailed level. This concludes our demonstration of Microsoft Dynamics AX 2009 Inventory Management Module. We thank you for your time.